Kiss's debut album came out in 1974 and it barely made a sound. Today, songs like Strutter and Deuce are rock staples, but when this album dropped, almost no one was listening. With the band's wild image, loud sound, and in-your-face attitude, you'd think they would have been a hit right away, but that's not what happened. Was it the wrong time, the wrong sound, or did people just not get it yet? Let's take a look back and ask the question, was Kiss's debut a total flop or a cult classic waiting to be discovered? Let's take a look at the vinyl record. I'll go through this quick because my copy is fairly simple. The front cover shows the band with the makeup. It looks a little different. Their makeup, would change over the years. And on the back, you have the Kiss logo, and then on the bottom, you have the song titles in the liner notes, and they're very like 70s, almost disco style. This is the 2014 repress, so it's a black vinyl with the classic Casablanca sticker. I'm going to show you another picture just so it's closer up. And that's basically all that's going on with this. So let me continue with the story. Before the makeup, the fire, and the fame, Kiss was just four guys in New York trying to do something different. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons had already played together in a band called Wicked Lester, but they weren't satisfied. They wanted something louder, something bigger. Then they found drummer Peter Criss through an ad in the classified ads, and guitarist Ace Frehley showed up to his audition wearing one red sneaker and one orange one, but that was the start of Kiss. From the beginning, the band knew image mattered. They wore makeup, had characters, they put on wild live shows. People in the New York club scene started to take notice. They played places in New York like the Coventry and the Daisy. They stood out literally with Smokes Light and platform boots. Casablanca Records, a brand new label, took a chance and signed them. The label was low on money but high in hope. Kiss recorded their debut album fast, 13 days in total, and everyone involved thought it was going to be big. The band had the look, they had the sound, the stage show. Everything was over the top. Everything was in place for a breakthrough, but the album finally hit stores, and it didn't go as planned. Kiss's self-titled debut album was released on February 18th, 1974. It had 10 tracks, total runtime of just over 35 minutes. Right away, showed off what the band was all about: loud guitars, catchy riffs, and over-the-top rock energy. Songs like Strutter, Deuce, Black Diamond, those were great songs with attitude. Cold Gin was raw and gritty, and there was a strange instrumental called Love Theme from Kiss. It wasn't perfect, but it had personality. The problem, the album didn't sell. Despite the band's image and strong songs, it barely made a dent on the charts. Initial sales were about 75,000 copies, which is disappointing even for a new band. Radio stations didn't play the songs, and music critics didn't take them seriously. Most saw Kiss as just another glam rock band trying too hard. Casablanca Records had big plans for the band, but they were running out of money. Their marketing push couldn't compete with major labels, and without strong radio play or sales, stores didn't keep the album on shelves for too long. For Kiss, it was a tough start. But while the album struggled commercially, the band was just getting started and they weren't ready to give up. So why didn't Kiss's album take off? One reason was timing. In 1974, rock was changing fast, glam rock was starting to fade. Bands like Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple were dominating with a heavier, more polished sound. Kiss sounded rough, almost like a garage band compared to those giants. Another issue was the production. The album didn't capture the energy of their live shows. The guitars were thin, the drums didn't hit hard, and the vocals lacked power. For a band known for wild stage performances, studio versions just felt flat. There was also confusion about their image. They wore makeup and costumes like a glam band, but their music wasn't flashy. It was simple, raw, hard rock. Some people didn't know what to make of them. Were they a gimmick or serious musicians? And finally, there was money. Casablanca Records was a small label with very limited resources. They couldn't promote the album the way bigger labels could. Without strong radio support or major tours, the album just got lost. For a band that would one day sell out stadiums, the first step into the music felt more like a stumble. Even though the debut album didn't sell well, Kiss wasn't ready to quit. They knew the secret weapon wasn't the album, it was the live show. On stage, Kiss was a completely different beast. They played loud, they moved constantly, they filled small clubs with smoke, fire, and energy. Fans who saw them walked away impressed, and word started to spread. Some of the songs from the debut, like Deuce, Cold Gin, and Black Diamond, started becoming fan favorites at shows. They hit harder in person. The band's chemistry was obvious, and each member brought something unique. Gene's demon persona, Paul's showmanship, Ace's wild solos, and Peter's gritty vocals. Even though radio ignored him and critics rolled their eyes, something was building under the surface. Kids started showing up to concerts with makeup on, bootlegs of the show started to circulate. Slowly, Kiss was creating a small but loyal fan base. They might not have had a hit record yet, but they had something more powerful, a growing army of fans who believed in them. The seeds were planted, and all they needed was the right moment to break through, and that exact moment was coming. By 1975, Kiss had released 3 studio albums, and none of them were big hits. The band was running out of time, and Casablanca Records was on the edge of collapse. So they made a bold move. They released a live album called Alive, and it changed everything. Alive captured the way the band they were meant to be heard, loud, raw, and full of energy. It featured many of the same songs from their debut, but this time they sounded alive because they were. Songs like Strutter, Deuce, and Black Diamond finally hit with the power fans had felt at their concerts. The album was a surprise hit. It went gold, then platinum. Radio stations started playing the live versions, and new fans discovered Kiss through Alive. Older fans saw their favorite songs finally get the attention they deserved. Suddenly, that first album didn't seem like such a flop anymore. It became the foundation of Kiss's rise, with many of its songs now considered classics. Without Alive, the debut might have stayed forgotten, but thanks to that live record, the world finally heard what Kiss was all about, and everything changed from there. So was Kiss's debut album a flop or a cult classic? At first, it looked like a flop. It didn't sell, didn't chart, critics hated it. Some fans weren't sure what to make of it, but the band never stopped pushing forward. They kept touring, kept performing, and built their fan base one show at a time. And when Alive finally hit, everything changed. Suddenly people saw the power behind those early songs. The debut went from overlooked to legendary. Today, Kiss's first album is seen as a raw, honest introduction to a band that will go on to become one of the biggest names in rock history. Might not be the biggest seller, but it's where Kiss truly started out. Proof that just because something doesn't hit right away doesn't mean it's not great. Sometimes it just takes time and the right stage for people to finally hear it. If you enjoyed this look at Kiss's debut album, you'll definitely want to check out my video on Dynasty, the album where Kiss took a sharp turn into disco and lots of drama and all that. This one has the I Was Made for Loving You and lots of behind the scenes stuff. So it's a wild chapter in the Kiss story. You don't want to miss it. Click the link on the screen or in the description to watch it next. If you love rock history, vinyl, and CDs and physical media, subscribe and like and all that good stuff. See you in the next one.